school policy project. I'm Stephanie Couch. This is for educational law for fall 2014 semester. My policy discussed a cell phone revisory of our current policy. It would allow cell phones to be used during classroom activities with the supervision of the teachers. And we would also write a new policy called Bring Your Own Device, which is BYOD for an acronym. And that would allow us to, or the students to bring their own devices from home, like Kindles or their own tablets or laptops, and use those in the classroom under teacher supervision. Currently, our school district has a cell phone policy that does not allow for cell phone use during school, and there are consequences if they are caught using that at school. And it also has, some teachers do allow a Kindle Fire to be used for e-reading in their English classes, but no other classes use outside devices. So I would like to write a new policy and revise our cell phone policy. The justification for this new policy and the revision of the old policy would be the Kansas Department of Education adopted Kansas College and Career Ready standards that all schools must follow. Students are going to be tested on a digital basis and need to have digital learning to get ready for those tests. And currently the KSDE is hoping for a 1-to-1 computer ratio based on student computer ratio, and currently on the average, according to a report in the Kansas State Department of Education, it is about 2 to 2.5 computers per student that's available. I believe that if you allowed students to bring their own, use their cell phones, like smartphones, and also bring their own devices, you could meet that 1-to-1 ratio a lot quicker. Our new cell phone policy, or our cell phone policy, would have to be revised, and we do not issue laptops or tablets in our districts like some districts do. We do have laptops and labs available. You have to sign up for those. It's a first come, first served basis. But again, they're not always available for every classroom at every time of the day. So students use this technology in their personal lives every day, and it would be easy access for them. They're familiar with the devices. I think it would move classes along quicker, and students would be more familiar with those. The purpose would be to better educate our students for college and career readiness. More digital access will allow students to learn about the technology they will use in college and in their careers. So, I mean, we're all out there not to pass the test. We're pushing our kids to go on to college or go on to careers. So we need to teach and use that technology that's out there for them right now and in the future. Using their own devices would allow them to have more learning at home. They could take what they learned at home or here at school and use it at home and actually get more out of it education-wise. There could be also a true flipped classroom, which I discussed in my paper, as far as teachers recording their lectures in school, students going home watching those lectures and actually getting to do homework in their classrooms with the teacher's help. Then parents wouldn't be so put on the spot to help kids with their homework that they don't understand. And we could also have more individualized learning. Kids could be on different lessons, doing research, or accessing other digital online activities in your classroom all at the same time on their own devices. The benefits. Allowing students to bring their own devices to use them in the classroom will allow them to allow the school to purchase digital books instead of the standard textbooks, so they wouldn't spend the money on laptops or tablets because the students would bring their own, so they could purchase more digital books or access to more activities online. Students are familiar with their own devices and use them more accurately than the school computers. There'd be less transition time Sometimes it takes 10 to 15 minutes if I bring the laptop into my classroom and have the students pull those out of the lab, boot them up. Sometimes they're not familiar with how to use them, and so it would be less transition times. They just pull their cell phone out or their own tablet out, and they'd have it right there. The burden of purchasing more laptops and tablets is taken off the district. Students bring their own, and teachers could access more technology for teaching. The incentives. Again, there's less burden on the district to reach that 1-to-1 computer to student ratio. Money that is spent on new computers could be used more for broadband for students to have more access throughout our school. And there are programs available out there through the President's Connect Ed program for funding for this. They're hoping actually to have all schools connected, or at least 99% of them connected by the year 2017. There's other districts' policies that I looked into. Ulysses, which is a school about an hour away from us, has this policy: any battery-powered or electronic items, which are cell phone, Kindles, iPods, MP3, that do not pertain to schoolwork should not be taken to class. So they do allow if they're using these electronic items for schoolwork, they can take them to class. Then there's a safety issue, and it talks about that. Anything disruptive to student learning cannot be taken to school, and it could be confiscated. Meade students, which is about 20 miles away from us to the east, are allowed to have their cell phones out during passing periods and lunch, and it's under the teacher discretion. They also issue Chromebooks to their students. I understand they're having some issues with those, but the students really enjoy using them. They are mostly up to the teacher, not really a board policy. Also in Lakin, they have any electronic devices that cause a disruption to the educational setting will be confiscated and returned to a parent guardian. Teachers will be given the discretion to allow audio devices in their classrooms, such as iPods, MP3 players, etc. Cell phones are not allowed to be used within the school building, although the person I talked to at Lakin said the general consensus is that students can use their cell phones during passing periods. So they do have a board policy, but it's not always followed. The teacher reaction, I surveyed several of our teachers here at school, and some are very content with the cell phone policy and the BYOD policy we have right now, which we don't have a BYOD policy. And I understand change is hard. And then I have other teachers, some that are freshly out of college, that are very, very interested in letting students use their cell phone for computer and digital access, for the flipped classroom, individualized learning. Some of them for making up high school classes and doubling up on classes, and there's more access to online lessons. The parent reaction, most of them love the idea of the flipped classroom, so they could not have to be expected to help the students with the homework. A little hesitant on some cases that parents I talked to, because they don't want their data that they pay for to be used here at school. So there would actually have to be broadband access for students to hook up here at school. Most thought it would lessen the burden of the district purchasing computers for all students to use, and they said why not let their students use the devices they already have. Ethics, fairness, and protection. The district internet policy would still be in effect, and this covers that once a student accesses the district's internet, then the information is not private anymore, and this would allow for searches and seizures of personal devices if reasonable cause is established, and that's based on the Supreme Court case I have listed here. The consequences of our violating our school internet policy are in our handbook, and they are level 1, a warning, they will lose computer privileges, internet access until a parent conference is held. A level 2, if there's a pattern of abuse, a flagrant violations. After a level 1 warning, the student could be looking at suspension and losing all their privileges for the remainder of school year. And then there's a level 3, which has expendable offense. They could be expelled from school for 5 days or more, or and lose their privileges for either the rest of that year, depending on the severity, and or for the rest of the time they're here at school. So we would actually keep our internet policy we have right now, which parents have to sign. Informing parents in the community, we would definitely put it in our student handbook, which we have a current policy in there right now. I would like to have a community meeting just to explain how the devices would be allowed and used. And we'd need to send out an informational letter in Spanish, English, and High German so everybody understood the new policy. And here's my references.